Okay, so let's go ahead now and get into the program. And we're going to go ahead and start with MacRepertory. The first thing I just wanted to remind people is that you do have available to you uh, this little Windows pull-down menu, which gives you various keyboard commands for opening up various windows in the program. You can either click on the Windows pull-down menu and select these various items. So if I wanted to open the keynotes, for example, I could click on keynotes, or if I've got a Windows computer, I could type Control plus the number 4, and if I've got a Apple computer, it would be the Command key plus the number 4. So you could either learn these, or you could click, or you can use your little tool palette over here and open the same types of windows. Also, I want to remind people that if you click on the Help pull-down menu, you have all of these various tutorials that are available to you in the program. You've also got this little item here called Keyboard Shortcuts. And if you click on that, you'll see here's a listing of different keyboard shortcuts that are useful to remember. And I know there's maybe a total of 10, 15 keyboard shortcuts here and a number of different keyboard commands for opening various windows, maybe in total less than 20. It really helps quite a bit to learn these, as it allows you to operate the program much more quickly. Of course, if you're wedded to using the mouse and prefer to use the pull-down menus, that's fine, but you can certainly operate and move through the program much more quickly by learning these various keyboard commands. Okay, so the first thing that I'd like to review today, I'm going to go ahead and open up the repertory. I could either click on this little icon over here that says repertory in the tool palette, or if I know the keyboard command, it's Control plus the number 1. And here I am in the Complete 2013 repertory. Remember, you can switch repertories by taking your mouse and clicking on the icon in the bottom right-hand corner. And here you can see, if I do that, all of the various repertories that I have available to me. The bottom right-hand corner icon will always allow you to change items within that particular category. So for example, if I'm in my patients, I've got a little icon in the bottom right-hand corner. If I click on that, I can see all of my different patients. So again, the icon or the little button in the bottom right-hand corner will always allow me to switch between different items from within that particular category. It doesn't really matter which repertory you're using right now. I'm currently using the Complete 2013, but you could be using a different one. If you want to switch to the Complete 2013, that's fine. Go ahead and do so. And I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm just going to open up the repertory. I'll just go ahead and open up the Mind section. So I'm just going to type in MI, and when I do that, you'll see Mind appears over here, and I'm going to hit Enter or Return. Enter if I've got a Windows computer, and Return if I have a Macintosh computer. And what I want to show you now is a little trick that most of our users are unaware of. Now, you may be aware that you can click on a rubric here, and you can drag that rubric over to any of the clipboards. You've got the clipboards A, B, C, and D, and you've got the clipboards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. Okay, and you can't really bring this over anywhere else. You could actually bring it over to the notes here, but you can't do anything, bring it over to any of these other icons, but you could bring it over to the clipboard, and it's one of the ways by which we can add rubrics to our clipboards. The reason we have different clipboards labeled A, B, C, D, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is we may want to group our rubrics into different categories. We might want to put all of our mind symptoms into clipboard A, and our general physicals into clipboard B, and our skin symptoms in clipboard C, and our food desires in food desires and aversions to clipboard D, and so on and so forth. And that allows us to look at all of the symptoms in all of the clipboards, but it also allows us to focus on specific aspects of the case. It allows us, for example, to say, okay, let's see which remedies cover just the skin symptoms the best. And by virtue of the fact that you've grouped the rubrics into different categories, you have that ability to look at the case in a number of different ways. Now, you can see here that what I did is I clicked on it and I was able to drag the whole rubric over. And it doesn't really matter where you click in the rubric, it drags the whole rubric. But what I want to show you now is if you've got a Windows computer and you hold down the Control and the Alt key, and by the way, if you've got a Mac computer, it would be the Command and the Option key. So let me repeat that again. If you've got a Windows computer, you're going to want to hold down the Control and the Alt key on your keyboard, Control and Alt. If you've got a Mac computer, you're going to want to hold down the Command and the Option key on your keyboard. Okay, so Windows Control and Alt, Mac Command and Option. And when you do that, now if you click over here, you can see that it doesn't drag the whole rubric over any longer. It just drags over the remedy that you had clicked on. So now I can go ahead and drag Asarum over to the keynote and let go, and now I've opened up the keynotes for the remedy Asarum europaeum. So this is a nice way to be able to drag remedies over without having to select the whole rubric and select a specific remedy and drag it over and get the keynotes of that remedy. I'll show you how to do that again. You hold either the Control or the Alt key down on your keyboard, or if you've got a Mac, the Command and Option key, and then while you're holding down those two keys, you click on whichever remedy you want. I'll click down on Orem. I'm holding down the mouse button and the Control and the Alt key all simultaneously, and I drag over Orem, I bring it over to the key, and then I let go at the same time, and now I've got the keynotes for Orem Metallicum. So this is a nice little hidden feature which allows us to quickly bring up the keynotes of any remedy that we see on our screen. We can do this both in the repertory window, and we can also do it in the analysis window. I also want you to notice that when you bring your mouse over any remedy, at the bottom of the screen over here, it actually tells you what remedy that is, and it also tells you the author, or at least one of the authors, that has made that addition. So you can see here, my mouse is over the remedy Asarum europaeum in the rubric alternating states, and at the bottom, it tells me Asarum europaeum, and it tells me that Hahnemann was the individual who made this addition. If I bring my mouse over to Antimonium tartaricum, again, it tells me at the bottom that the remedy is Antimonium tartaricum, and that the person, or at least one of the people who considered this to be a remedy for alternating states, was Clemens von Beria-Benninghausen. So you want to notice oftentimes that when you roll your mouse over various items in the MacRepertory or reference software programs, that oftentimes information will appear in the lower part of the window indicating what that information is all about. I also want you to know that you can actually right-click on any remedy and can then open up a contextual menu that allows you to do a number of different things. Now, if you've got a Windows computer, you're probably pretty familiar with right-clicking. If you've got a Mac computer, you might say, well, I don't know how to do that. Not a problem. You can either hold the Control key down on your keyboard and then click, or depending on how your Mac computer is set up, you may have to click with 2 fingers on your keypad, and that will allow you to right-click. You might have to just check or play around with that a little bit, but in any case, what you'll want to do is you'll want to right-click on the remedy, and when you do that, again, you can do this in the repertory window, which I'm in presently, or in the analysis window. It will bring up this contextual menu, and it allows you to do a number of different things. So for example, I could go now and I could just find the whole rubric in ReferenceWorks. In other words, I could go and search for alternating states in ReferenceWorks, or I could view the remedy in ReferenceWorks. Well, let's try that. I'm going to go ahead now and left click on View Remedy in ReferenceWorks. And that's going to go ahead and take me over to ReferenceWorks. And now you will see that I'm in ReferenceWorks, and I'm in the Materia Medica section, and here I can see the remedy Asarum europaeum, and now I can see all of the various books that have a description of Asarum europaeum. And if I wanted to look, for example, for what Hahnemann had to say, I could type in H-A-H-N, and here I can see I'm at Hahnemann's Materia Medica Pura, under Asarum europaeum. If I want to go ahead and open up and read that, I would hit enter or return, depending on whether you're using a Windows or a Mac computer. Enter or return, and now you can see I can see the natural history or the general information about Asarum europaeum. I want the general information, so I'm going to type G on my keyboard for general, and then I'm going to hit enter or return, and now I can see a description of Asarum europaeum in Hahnemann's Materia Medica Pura in ReferenceWorks. Now, if I want to go back to my MacRepertory program from here, I can either go to the toolbar on the bottom and click on the MacRepertory icon, or if I prefer to use my keyboard, I can hold the Alt key down on my keyboard, and while I'm holding down the Alt key, I can tap on the Tab key. And you'll see that when I hold down the Alt key and I click on the Tab key, it allows me to move between different open applications that I have on my computer. You can see now I'm in MacRepertory, now I'm in the Internet Explorer, now I'm in my Camtasia Studio, which is the program I use to record everything. Here I am on my desktop. Here I'm at this PowerPoint slide. I'm going to go back over to the MacRepertory, and then I'm going to let go of the Alt key, and now I find myself back in MacRepertory. Again, you might have to play around with that a little bit and practice it, but I think eventually you'll learn how to use that. So let's continue to look at that contextual menu that I was presenting earlier. Again, I'm going to right-click on the remedy Asarum. I could do this on any remedy. We saw what happens when we select View Remedy in ReferenceWorks. If I select now the third option down called Remedy Keynotes, and I left-click on that, you'll see that it brings up the keynotes for the remedy Asarum europaeum. I'm right now in Berkey's Materia Medica. If I wish to switch to a different keynote book in my MacRepertory program, I could simply click on the little key at the bottom right hand corner here, and I could go ahead and switch to a different keynote book in my MacRepertory software. Okay, let's try that one more time. Again, I'm going to right click on the remedy Asarum europaeum. The next item down says substance information. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, the next item down says remedy information on the web. So if I left click on that, provided that I'm on the internet, it's going to take me to a website called provings.info. And this is a website that was created in Europe. I believe it's in Holland, actually. I might be wrong about that, but I believe it's in Holland. And basically, this is a collection of different proving information about all of the different remedies that are in our Materia Medica. And so now there is a subscription fee for this, but it's relatively nominal fee. You can go in, and if you paid that fee, you can go and you can look at the original provings and even some of the more subsequent, later contemporary provings for many of the remedies that are in our Materia Medica. I'm going to go ahead now and go back to my MacRepertory program. I'm going to use that keyboard feature which I talked about earlier. I'm going to hold the Alt key down on my keyboard, and I'm going to click on the Tab key, and I'm going to go to MacRepertory, and I'm going to let go, and I'm back in my MacRepertory program. Let's try that, opening that contextual menu one more time. I'm going to right-click on Asarum. And we've already looked at the View Remedy in ReferenceWorks, the remedy keynotes, the remedy information on the web. The next item is called Substance Information, and if I left click on that, it's going to open up this little PDF document, and it's going to give me some information specifically about Asarum europaeum. Now, this is not Materia Medica information. This is information about the substance itself. For example, its common name, the botanical family in which it's located. It's the Aristolochiaceae family. It'll give me some homeopathic preparation, how it's actually prepared, proving information, botanical information, habitat, toxicology, and if I scroll down to the next page, it'll give me some additional information. So again, this is not the actual Materia Medica or symptoms of the remedy that were generated during the proving or that were discovered during clinical practice. This is information about the source substance itself, kind of akin to what you would find in Franz Vermeulen's Prisma book, but in a much more abbreviated form. Okay, I'm going to Alt-Tab now to go back to my MacRepertory program. I'm back in, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go over to the remedy Asarum europaeum. I'm going to right-click on it, I've got the family information, which is interesting. I can click on that and see what family it's in. I've also got this little window here that says limit window to the remedy. And this is really interesting, limit window to the remedy. So if I left click on this, what it's going to do, it's going to take this window, my Mind section of the complete 2013 repertory, and it's going to limit the rubrics only to those which contain the remedy Asarum Europium. And if you think about this for a second, what I've essentially done is I've extracted from the repertory all of the rubrics, or at least all of the mind rubrics, which contain the remedy Asarum Europium. And so if I scroll down here, I can see these are all the symptoms of Asarum Europium. It's an extraction from the repertory. And now I can see all of the various remedies, all of the various symptoms or rubrics that contain the remedy Asarum Europium. You can do this in other windows, but this is a very fast and easy way to immediately extract and see which symptoms are associated with any particular remedy. Very nice feature. And then, of course, you can take any of these and you could drag them over to your clipboards over here and add them into your clipboards if you would like. Now, because that was a type of a limitation, whenever I impose a limitation on any window, whether it's in MacRepertory or in ReferenceWorks, what will happen is that the little green button in the bottom left-hand corner of my window will turn red. And that red tells me that I have somehow limited the information in this window. If I want to undo that limitation, what I'll do is I'll bring my mouse over to the little red button, I'll click on it, it'll turn back to being green, and now you can see that I've no longer limited this window in any way, and I've got the full rubrics with all of the remedies back again. For those of you who are wondering if you're not showing your remedies, just want to remind you that if you click on rubrics here, you have the choice of showing no remedies, just the main remedies, all the remedies listed by the grade, and all the remedies listed alphabetical. That's the choice I've presently got, all remedies listed alphabetically. And there is a keyboard command here to change these. It'll be Command R for a Mac computer and Control R for Windows. So if I want, I can do Control or Command R, and I can toggle between these different views. Okay? All right. Now let's try a different remedy. We've been playing around with the Asarum Europium, so let's expand this window a little bit here. And here's Belladonna. Let's try Belladonna. So I'll right-click on Belladonna, and remember the last item that we selected was limit window to remedy. What I'd like to do now is limit window to remedies family. And if I bring my mouse over to this item, you can see there's a number of choices of different items that I can limit this window to. Now let me explain to you what this is all about. Basically, these are all of the various groupings which contain the remedy Belladonna. And it's the entire taxonomical hierarchy. So it would contain everything at the highest level and then all the way down. And it would also include information like miasmatic information, or what part of the plant was used, or things along those lines. So let me go through and explain this here. You can see, for example, there are 3 different systems of taxonomical classification that are used in MacRepertory and ReferenceWorks. The first of these is called the Dahlgren system. You can see it right here. The second is located right here. It's called the Cronquist system. And the third is called the APG or Angiosperm system. Let me explain. The Dahlgren and the Cronquist systems are systems of taxonomical classification or botanical classification that are based on morphology, that group plants together based on a similarity of form. So for example, if you take what is oftentimes known as the daisy family, or the Latin name is the Asteraceae family. It used to be called the Compositae family, but the more current terminology is the Asteraceae family. If you look at the daisy or Asteraceae or Compositae family, one of the things that you'll notice, regardless of which member of that grouping that you're looking at, is that all the flowers have a similar shape. And whether you're looking at the sunflower, Helianthus, or Arnica montana, or Bellis perennis, or Sina, or Chamomilla, or Echinacea, or Dahlias, you will always notice that they have these kind of round flowers that have these spirals inside. And some are larger and some are smaller, and they're different colors, but the shape of the flower is very similar. And that's why it's called the daisy family, because they all have those daisy-looking flowers. If you look at the Solanaceae family, a different family, what we oftentimes refer to as the nightshades, and you look at those, regardless of whether you're looking at tomatoes, which is Lycopersicum, or potatoes, Solanum tuberosum, or Stramonium, or Hyoscyamus, or Belladonna, or Tabacum, or Capsicum, or Dulcamara, regardless of which member of the Solanaceae or nightshade family you're looking at, they will all have those kind of bell-shaped type of flowers. Some are larger, some are smaller, they're different colors, but the shape of the flower is very similar. And this was the traditional system or traditional way by which members of a botanical grouping were organized together. We have both the Dahlgren and the Cronquist systems, which are the two primary systems of grouping plants together based on morphology. And here you can see Dahlgren plants, dicotyledons, which is the two groupings of the leaves. These are not monocots. Belladonna is in the dicots. Monocots would be all of your grasses and irises and all of those plants that have a leaf with the veins that are parallel to each other, that are in a long line as opposed to being branched out. And then you have the Solanae, the Solanalis, which is the order above the family, and then you have the Solanaceae. So here you can see it going from the largest Belladonna is in all of these groupings going down to the family level called Solanaceae. The Cronquist organizes it a little bit differently. And then you have the third system called the APG, or Angiosperm Phylogeny group system. And this system is not based on morphology or similarity of form. This system is based on the DNA of the plants. What happened was in 1998, a group of scientists converged in Uppsala, Sweden. This is the hometown of Linnaeus, the father of botanical classification. They got together and they decided that from then on they would not be organizing plants based on morphology or similarity of form, the flowers looking similar, but based on the DNA of the plants. And this is now the standard system that is used in botany, in biology, in all different ways by which we classify these plants together. You might be asking now, well, why do you have the Dahlgren and Cronquist systems in there? And the reason is that there are many homeopaths who use botanical families who continue to employ the Dahlgren and Cronquist systems, and so we have made all of these available to you. So again, here you can see APG angiosperms, eudicots, which is the same thing as dicotyledons, core eudicots, astrids, Eustrid 1, Solanalis, and then Solanaceae. And again, these are getting smaller as you're going down within the taxonomical hierarchy. And then you've got plants apart, the whole plant. Belladonna, we use the whole plant in the preparation of the remedy. Here you can see that we could classify it as a tree. And then here are all the different miasms which people have organized Belladonna into. Now, how would we use this? Let's say we want to limit to the family of Solanaceae. So I could just bring my mouse over to Solanaceae, and I could left click on it, and now you will see that this window, my repertory window, has been limited not just to Belladonna, but to all the members of the family to which Belladonna is a member. And so now you can see Atropinum, Belladonna, Capsicum, Hyoscyamus, Lycopersicum, Mandragora, Solanum tuberosum, Stramonium, all of the various members that we have in our Materia Medica that are nightshades or Solanaceae plants. And so again, this is very interesting for study purposes and different things that you might want to do. Because this is a limitation, you'll notice at the bottom left-hand corner that the little green button has now turned red. If you want to undo that limitation, you can click on the little red button, and it will turn back green again. Now, if we do this with something different, let's go to cuprum, for example. If I right-click on cuprum and I go to Limit to Remedies Family, you'll now notice that I no longer have botanical families. Now I have information from the periodic table. So I can see the cuprum is in the ferrum series. That's the information that goes across the periodic table. And I can also see that it's in stage 11, and I'm able to limit the information in my repertory window just to the stage 11, just to the members that are in stage 11. So I welcome you to explore with this and play around with it. It's very interesting, and there's a lot that you can do with it. Okay, the next thing that I'd like to show you is a lot of you might be changing how your program looks, and you might want to keep those settings or the way that you've changed the program so that the next time you open up the program, it looks exactly the same way. So let me show you how you can do that. If you go over to the File pull-down menu over here, and you click on it, you'll see about 3/4 of the way down, there's an item here that says Startup Files. And if you left-click on Startup Files, you will see that you have a number of different options which are available to you. So the first one is under Repertory Last Used. Now here, that's the default last used, which means whichever was the last repertory you used, that's the repertory that's going to open up when you reopen up your software after you've closed it down. Now you can change that. You can click over here and you could choose. You could say, I don't care what the last repertory that I used was. I always want it to open up to the complete 2013 repertory or whatever other repertory you have available to you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on last used. That's what I prefer. And the same thing with the keynotes. You can always have it open up to the last used, or you can click over here and you can say I always want it to open up to whichever of the keynotes that you have available to you in your program. Okay. And then with regard to patient's chart, when the program opens up, the default is to have a new patient chart automatically open up, but you could always have it open to the last used patient chart. So whatever was the last chart that you had, you could have it open up to that. And then when opening up the display or the analysis, it could be the last graph that you were looking at, or the last rubrics that you were looking at in your clipboard, or have a new blank session. For me personally, for the patient chart, it makes sense to have a new patient chart opened up automatically, just because that was the last patient I looked at the previous day or a few hours before when I had closed the program. Doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily want to look at them again. And the same thing with my analysis graph. I generally want a new blank window so that I can add new information to. And then finally, you've got this item here called Program Settings. And this is very nice. Let's say that you've made certain changes to your program. You've changed the font style, you've changed the size of the fonts, you've made other types of modifications to the program. Some of those are automatically saved, but if you want to save them permanently, what you can do is click on Save Current, and from then on, whatever changes you've made, that will, when you open up the program again, will be available to you. And also, just so you know, you can give those settings a name. So you can call it whatever you want, Kim Aaliyah's settings, for example. Okay, and then you can click OK, and those are now saved. And if you click on the select button over here, you can see all of the different types of settings. So, you know, perhaps you want to set up the program in a variety of different ways. You can do that, and then you can go ahead and open up whatever setting that you would like for whatever purpose you want. So you could have different types of settings. Maybe you're going to do a presentation and you want all of your fonts to be a lot larger. You might have a setting called presentation, and you could go ahead and click on that, and then all the fonts will become really big for your presentation. But when you're just practicing in your home office with patients, you might say, I don't want those fonts to be so big, I don't need them like that, and you'd have another setting for that purpose. So it would really be up to you to use that however you would like. Okay, so that's the settings part. Okay, now the other thing that I'd like to show you is how to search inside of Keynotes. We've discussed how to search inside of MacRepertory and ReferenceWorks in my previous sessions, but I'd like to show you how to actually search inside of the Keynote. So let's say we open up the Keynotes here. How do I search for something inside of here? Okay, well, the way that you would do that is you'd open up whatever Keynote you want to search inside of, and then you would go over to the search pull-down menu and you would choose the item called Find Words. Now remember, when you're searching for remedies and words, or remedies, or even remedies or words, the best option is to select Control plus F or Command plus F, remedies and words. I don't recommend using the remedies and words windows. The better one is the remedies and words window, this one right over here. But if you want to search inside of keynotes or you want to search inside of notes, then you're going to select the item called Find Words. So I'm going to go ahead now and click on Find Words. And this little window opens up, and I'm going to just search for a word that I know is going to be in there. So I'll type the word the. And we have a number. Let me just click in here just to make sure. Let me cancel out of this first. Let me click so that I'm at the beginning of this window here. Okay. And I'll go back up to search, and I'll click on Find Words. And now I have some choices. I can match the whole word, I can match the start of the word, or I can match anywhere. If I really know exactly the word and only the word that I want, then I would click that exact word and I would select match the whole word. But sometimes the word may be, for example, cat or cats, and I want both cat or cats, in which case I would select match the start of the word. In any case, you'd figure out match the whole word, match the start of the word, or match anywhere in the word. Generally speaking, this is not as common to use. There might be instances where it might be appropriate. But let's select match the start of the word, and then you click on search, and you see it finds for you the word the in the keynote text. Now let's say you want to go to the next item, the next instance of the word the. The way you could do this is with your keyboard, you would either hold down the Control or Command, Control if you're using Windows, Command if you're using a Mac computer. You hold the Control or the Command key down and you hit the letter G, and you will see you keep hitting the letter G while you're holding down that Control or Command key, and it's going to move you through every instance in this keynote where we can find the word the. And you can continually move through here and move through, and you'll go through each of the remedies one by one in here and find the word the. Okay? So that's a very nice feature. It also works, by the way, in the notes. Remember, when you've got your patient here, you open up, you click over here, and you've got a particular patient. Here's a particular patient. His name is Charles. Here you can see the rubrics in clipboards A through D. Here's the repertorization or analysis, which I saved for Charles. I can also have notes. I could actually type in my whole case if I want for Charles. So you'll notice that right to the right, down and to the right of this little folder here is a little piece of paper with a folded over corner, and if I click on it, you can see that I've typed in the whole case for Charles. And let's say I would like to find some information that I typed in about my patient. So what I would do is I would click at the beginning of the text so that I can search through the whole thing, and again I'd use that same feature. I'd go over to the search pull-down menu, I would click on it, I would go down to the item called Find Words, I would left click on it, and now I would type in the word that I would like to search for. So I'm going to type in the word stool because this was a child who had a lot of issues with their stools. And maybe I want to read a little bit. I forgot exactly what I said, and I want to specifically reference the information about the stools. So I'm going to type in S-T-O-O-L. And in this case, I don't want to match the whole word. I want to match the start of the word because I want to find both stool and stools. So I'm going to select match the start of the word, and I'm going to click on the search button, and here you can see it found the first instance in my notes where the word stool or stools appear. And if I want to find the next instance, I'll hold the Control or Command key down on my keyboard, and while holding the Control or Command key, I'll type the letter G, and you can see I can move through all the, and when I get to the end, no more occurrences of the word stool were found. So I can go through and I can type in my whole case in here, and I don't have to worry about trying to read through everything to find specifically what their food desires and aversions were or what their skin symptoms were. Provided that I organize the information clearly in my notes, I will find it very easy to locate it by using this particular find feature. Okay, so I think that's a really nice way to find information both in your keynotes and your notes. I'm going to go ahead and close the notes now. I did want to show you that if you want to rename anything that you've saved for your patients, what you can do, let's say I've got here rubrics clipboards A through D. This was an automatic name that was given based on the first rubric in the clipboard. I can right click on this and I can go down to the near the bottom here where it says rename item, and then I can left click and I can now change the name rubrics clipboards A through D English to whatever I want. Let's say I want to call it mind symptoms. And now that becomes the name for clipboards A through D. Or maybe I want to call it, Charles Case, or whatever I would like to call it, and then I click on rename, and now that's the name. And I can do the same thing with MacRepertory Remedy Graph. This is an automatic name that's given. I can right click on it. I can go down to the near the bottom here, left click on rename the name, and I can call it, let's say, first analysis graph. Okay, maybe I have multiple analysis graphs that I'm working on, and I can call it the first analysis graph. Okay, and then I click on rename, and I can rename it. All right, very good. Let's go now and explore some of the unusual features of ReferenceWorks that can be used. So I'm going to Alt-Tab to go over to ReferenceWorks, Alt, and then I'm going to hit the Tab key. Here's all my different programs. Here's ReferenceWorks. I'm going to let go of my Alt key, and now I am in ReferenceWorks. And what I'd specifically like to show you here is how to create a rubric and then take that rubric and export it into MacRepertory. So I'll do a search. Let's just search for, let's say, fear. I'll type in the word fear here. And I want to search for the word fear within 3 words of the word alone. So I'll hit the number 3 on my keyboard, and then I'll type in the word alone. And I want to, basically what I want to do here is I want to find 3 different symptoms. I want to find all the remedies that share those 3 different symptoms. So if I want to do within the same remedy, then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the spacebar key on my keyboard 5 times. Once, twice brings up within the same sentence, 3 times within the same paragraph, 4 times within the same section, and 5 times within the same remedy. So now I've got fear within 3 words of alone in the same remedy as, let's say, fear within 3 words of dog. And again, I'll do the spacebar key 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's say in the same remedy as pain within 3 words of arm. Okay, and remember, you can add synonyms to any of these words. So if you click after the word fear, for example, and you click on the ampersand sign over here, it gives you a number of words that are related in various ways. So here I can see the word afraid. I can click on it, and I can click on add, and I can add fear and afraid. Or I can scroll down here a little bit, and I can add the word dread. Click on that, and I can click on add. And when I'm finished adding, I can close it. Now you can see I've got fear. The / sign means an or. So this is fear or dread or afraid within 3 words of alone in the same remedy as fear. And I could do the same thing here. I could click on the ampersand sign, and I could click on afraid, and I could add that in. And then I could click on dread, and I could add that in. And now I've got fear or dread or afraid within 3 words of alone in the same remedy as fear or dread or afraid within 3 words of dog in the same remedy as pain in the arm. And I could specify this too. I could click after the word arm, click on the ampersand sign, and let's say it's in the elbow as well. I could add that in. And let's say it's in the forearm. I could add that in. And I could even look at more general words or more specific words. Has parts, hand, maybe I want to add hand in. So I can either do this by selecting items in this word finder, or I could simply hit the / key and type in the word myself. So now I've got a fairly complex search in ReferenceWorks, fear or dread or afraid within 3 words of alone in the same remedy as fear or dread or afraid within 3 words of dog, in the same remedy as pain within 3 words of arm or hand or forearm or elbow. Now some of you might be saying, well, why would I even do this? Why not just repertorize these symptoms? Well, there's 2 really good reasons. One is you oftentimes will find information in our materia medicas that has never been added to our repertories. So you're going to have more information by looking through the Materia Medica and analyzing inside the Materia Medica than you would searching through the rubrics. The second reason is there are sometimes symptoms that your patient will share with you that have no corresponding rubric. It simply does not exist in the repertory. How many times has it happened that some person has come in and shared this really strange, rare, and peculiar aphorism 153 type symptom, and you said, wow, fantastic, how strange, rare, peculiar. Now I just got to find the corresponding rubric and I'll find, the appropriate remedies. And you go and you look in the repertory and there is no such rubric in the repertory. How many times does this happen to us in daily practice? Well, fortunately, we have a wonderful program like ReferenceWorks that allows us to oftentimes find information which does not exist in the repertory as a rubric, and sometimes this will be invaluable for helping you to solve a case. So in any case, here I've got these various symptoms. I'll click right after the word elbow. I want you to notice here that the letter A appears here. If I click on the A, I can choose A, B, C, D, E, and F. These are the clipboards that are in ReferenceWorks, and this tells me that when I do this search, that the results are going to go into one of the clipboards in ReferenceWorks. And I can actually analyze this. I could actually do multiple searches and actually analyze those right inside of ReferenceWorks. So let's go ahead now and either hit Enter on a Windows computer or Return on a Mac. And now it's going to produce my results. You can see that I've got 1,594 references that came up. It tells me which books and what authors that they've come up in. And it actually shows me the actual text. She was afraid of being alone, going about in the fear. And it shows me that 53 remedies came up. If I click on clipboard A here, you can see here is the search, and here are the remedies that have shown up in association with this particular search. And if I want to export this into MacRepertory, I think the easiest way is just to do Control A to select it, Control or Command C to copy it, and then I would Alt Tab to go over to MacRepertory, and then I could click on, let's say, clipboard B here, and I could just do Command or Control V, and now you can see I pasted that search from ReferenceWorks into my MacRepertory program, and it shows me the 51 remedies. If I hit the spacebar key, it's going to show me those remedies, or I can click on the little analysis graph over here, and here is the analysis or repertorization of that particular rubric, which I extracted from ReferenceWorks. And that's going to look exactly like the one that actually I could pull up in ReferenceWorks. I've come back over to ReferenceWorks, and if I click on the graph over here, you're going to see the exact same analysis graph. This is the one in ReferenceWorks, and this is the one in MacRepertory. They will be identical. It's the same remedies. I've just exported one to the other. Okay? All right. So that's a very nice tool. It allows you to exchange information back and forth. You also should know that if you want to read more about these symptoms, you can simply double click on any line here in these results. This is the center of the line where the result is actually located. Here you can see afraid of being alone. If I double click on this, it's going to take me to the actual results over here. And if I want to move, here you can see afraid of being alone, okay, in Burnett. If I want to move to the next symptom, I would use my tab key on my keyboard. So I hit the tab key, and you can see now it's going to move me through each of the various books, and now you can see I've got Fear of Dogs under Kandagabi, and I can just move through the different books. Eventually, this is just introductory information for these various books, but eventually I'll be getting to some remedies as well. Here you can see Fear of Being Alone, and I can just move through hitting the tab key and look at all of the different symptoms that have come up for the particular search that I conducted. And those remedies, by the way, are the only 51 remedies that have those 3 symptoms that I searched for. So essentially I've done an analysis of those 3 symptoms and said which remedies share those 3 particular symptoms. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to show you in ReferenceWorks is how to pull up cases and how to pull up provings. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go ahead and just clear this out. I can just highlight the text, hit backspace or delete and clear it out. What I do want to tell you is that depending on what package you have, you may or may not have some of this functionality. So for example, if you've only got the classic version, not the professional version of ReferenceWorks, you may not have all of the functions that I'm presently showing you. If you don't and you want some of these functions, by all means contact our office and we can give you some good pricing on being able to add the professional versions of the software. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my tool palette here on the left hand side, and I'm going to click on the book over here, and that's going to open up the Materia Medica section of ReferenceWorks. And I'm going to want to get rid of this information here, so I'm going to click on the book info little bottle over here, and that's going to bring me up to Asarum Europeum. Now you can see that I've actually got the Materia Medica section limited to Asarum Europeum. I know that because the little button here in the bottom left-hand corner is red, which tells me that I've limited the information. So I'm going to click on that little red button, turn it to green, and now you can see all of the remedies or all the Materia Medica that's contained in ReferenceWorks. Now let's say, for example, I would like to pull up cases of a particular remedy. Let's say, for example, I would like to pull up cases of pulsatilla. So I'm just going to go ahead now and type in PULS, and now I've got pulsatilla selected, and I can go ahead and hit enter, and now I've got all of the book, or enter or return. Now I've got a listing of all of the books for which there is information about pulsatilla, but it's not specified what type of information it is. It could be proving information, it could be cases, it could be therapeutic information about pulsatilla, or it could be just general Materia Medica, or it could be maybe information about the substance itself, pulsatilla. But I specifically want to find just the cases of pulsatilla. So remember, remember how the right-hand corner always allows you to switch between different items within that category. The bottom left-hand corner of any window in MacRepertory or ReferenceWorks allows you to limit the information in that window in a variety of different ways. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click let me just look at the different options. If I click on the person here, it allows me to limit the information about pulsatilla to various sections, like the mind section. I can click individual sections here, and I can choose specifically what sections. Maybe I just want to read about the head symptoms and the ear symptoms of pulsatilla. I could do that. If I click on the remedy bottle, it allows me to limit this information to individual remedies, individual family groupings, miasmatic types of information. So this is all different types of information that I could limit the particular information in the window to. And then the next item, which is like a little book, if I click on that, you can see, and this is what you'll only find in the professional version. You won't have all of these options in the classic version. I can search for just characteristic Materia Medica, just clinical Materia Medica, just cured cases, just natural history information, just pharmacy lists, just philosophy information, just provings, or just repertory extractions. Remember, I wanted to find cured cases. So I'm going to highlight cured cases. I'm going to left click, and now you can see what I've done essentially is I've limited this to just books which have cured cases of pulsatilla. Burnett's 50 Reasons, Erastus' case was a homeopath, Krista Heron's cases, Kent's clinical cases, Moskowitz, Nash's testimony, and Singh's Herring's mild cure. These are all cases. And if I go to one, for example, if I go to Kent, type the letter K, and then I hit enter, you will see here is a case of pulsatilla. If I want to go back up, I click on the pulsatilla here, and I'm back at the top. Okay? Let's do that again. Let's go to pulsatilla, P-U-L-S. I'll go to pulsatilla, and then I'll go ahead and hit enter. Here I've got pulsatilla. Here's all my cases. You'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner that the green button is now red because remember, I've limited it to just cases of pulsatilla. I want to undo that limitation. I can click on the red button, and now I have all the books that contain pulsatilla. Maybe I just want to read about provings of pulsatilla. I don't want to read the materimetic or secondary type of information. I specifically want to focus on the proving information. So what I can do now is I can click on that book in the bottom left-hand corner, and this time, instead of selecting cured cases, this time I'm going to click on provings. I'm going to left click on provings, and now you can see I've limited it to Timothy Field Allen's Encyclopedia Pura Material Bradford's Index, Hahnemann's Materia Pura, and McFarland's Provings, and these would be all information about provings about pulsatilla. If I type the letter A and I hit enter, here you can see I want to read about the mind provings of pulsatilla. I type in mind, I hit enter, return, and here is the original proving of pulsatilla in Allen's Encyclopedia for the mind section specifically. Okay, very nice, easy to use, it works quite well. Okay, if I want to undo the limitation, again, I can bring my mouse to the bottom here, click on the little red button, and clear it out. Now, what if I want to save this information and refer back to it at a later time? Fortunately, ReferenceWorks allows you to bookmark the information in your program. So you can actually bookmark what you're doing here. If you look at the upper right-hand corner, you'll see there's this little icon, kind of looks kind of like a little tab, and if you click on it, and you can see when I go over to it at the bottom, it says choose a bookmark. So I can click, and I can choose whatever bookmark I want. So I've chosen the little green leaf here. Okay, and now I can close out of this. I can go someplace else. Let's say I want to go to Python Regia. Okay, Sharfstein cases, and I'll open that up. And maybe I want to save that, so again I'll click on this and I'll give it a different little tab. And now maybe I'll go over here again, and I want to go to radium bromatum, and I want to specifically look at what Berkey's Materia Medica says about radium bromatum. So I'll look here, and then I'll go ahead and I'll click on this, and I'll give it another little tab. Then you can give you just give them whatever you want. And now with these tabs, I can go back and forth, and you can see here's the Berkey's radium bromatum, here's the case of Python, and here is the information about pulsatilla for the proving in Allen's Encyclopedia in the mind section. So I can do as many of these as I want. I can use duplicates as well, and I can go back and forth. If I'm doing some type of research project or study where I'm comparing different information, I can just click and then go and compare and read that different information without having to research for it every time over and over again. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is go back to MacRepertory, and I want to just show you a little bit about the family graphs. Okay, so I've actually got a case in there in MacRepertory. I'm going to open up clipboard A by clicking on it. Here is the repertorization. Here are the rubrics, and I'll close the clipboard. Here is the repertorization. It's a case where I had prescribed the remedy Athusa sinapium. For those of you who don't know, Athusa sinapium is also known as fool's parsley, and it was a remedy that was very commonly employed during the 19th century for the treatment of cholera. It turned out that there were a number of remedies that were commonly used for the treatment of cholera, like Veratrum album and Camphora and Arsenicum, but there were certain cases of cholera that were very serious with very intense projectile vomiting, for which none of those remedies that I just mentioned were effective. And then Athusa was found to be a very good remedy for that, and then subsequently it was found to be an excellent remedy for convulsions. And also, it's one of the top remedies. Silica and Athusa are probably the two top remedies for infants with projectile vomiting. In any case, it's a good remedy to know. It's got a very interesting chronic picture that was elaborate. I actually taught a whole class on it that's up on our website. George Vithoulkas actually used it. It was one of the remedies he used when he treated J. Krishnamurti. And it's a really excellent remedy. It has a very good chronic picture, a very good understanding of it, with a strong attachment to animals and feeling of being separated from humanity. A very interesting remedy. In any case, this was a child who I had given the remedy Athusa sinapium to. But here's my repertorization. And let's say I want to look at the analysis for the family information. So I have two ways, or actually three ways. I could click on Windows here, and I could select Family Graph. That's one way. Or I could type the keyboard command. For Windows, it would be Control plus the number 6. For the Mac, it would be Command plus the number 6. Or I could click on the little Family Graph over here. So now I've opened up my Family Graph. Okay, and now I've got a number of different types of graphs, okay, and these are organized into different categories. The first one that opens up are all my mineral maps. If I go over and I click on this little window over here that says Mineral Overview, if I click on here, you can see I've got the mineral overview, the plant overview, the animal overview, the miasm overview, Jan's overview, Massimo's overview, Rajan's overview, Kingdom, Schulten's minerals. So these are all different options that I have available to me. Okay, and you can explore these and play around with these in more detail later. These essentially are the same as these little icons that move across over here. So these are absolutely the same. So let's say I go into them, I decide that I think it's a mineral remedy for whatever reason. Here are all my different mineral maps, and if I want to open one, what I do is I just simply bring my mouse over to the one that I'd like to open, for example, Jan Schulten here, and I double click on it, and it opens up that particular graph. Okay, and this is the periodic table according to Jan Schulten. He's actually organized it a little bit differently than you would find it from the normal scientific periodic table. But what's very interesting about this, and what is unique to MacRepertory and also ReferenceWorks, because this family window works in both programs, ReferenceWorks and MacRepertory, is that you'll notice that some of the elements, potassium, calcium, carbon, some of these are actually in a darker color. Ferrum, they're in a darker color. And that means that that element or that remedy is better represented in our repertorization than other elements are from the periodic table. You'll also notice when we look across the stages here that certain stages are white, like stage 13, whereas stage 15 and 16 and 12 are a darker color. Again, that tells you that stages 15 and 16 are better represented as a grouping in the repertorization than is stage 13. Take that for what you want. Now, what you can do here is if you want, you can actually limit your repertorization over here to the remedies that are in stage 15. The way I do that is I bring my mouse over to the number 15, I double click on it, and now you will see that only the stage 15 elements are now in my repertorization. Okay, and if I click on that again, I can actually see the information for stage 15. Okay, so I can actually see what this information, according to Jan Schulten, is all about, what stage 15 actually represents. Okay, you'll also notice that in my repertorization window over here on the right, that the little green button has turned red, and the reason for that is because I have now limited the remedies in my repertorization to just those that are in stage 15: arsenicum, antimonium crudum, phosphorus, phosphoric acid. It's not just the remedies; it's actually the remedies and their compounds as well. So here you have calcarea, but it's in there because it's calcarea phosphorica. Phosphorus, arsenicum, antimony, nitrogen, those are all members of stage 15. Okay, so it's including not just the pure element, but the element and also its compounds. Okay, and you could do this for botanical information. So, for example, if you click over here, you go to plant overview, you've got all the different elements for the different plants. Again, you can explore these. You can click here. You can say, okay, here's Solanalis. Okay, here's the, let's see what system this is. Looks like the Dahlgren system, I believe, or Cronquist system. One of those two systems. If I want to look at the Solanalis, you can see which ones are coming up more strongly. If I say, okay, it looks like the Lilialis is coming up really strongly, I could go ahead and click on Lilialis here. And it would limit my analysis to just those members. Okay, and you can see those are just limited over here. Okay, now some of you might be saying, well, is this really something that we should be doing in homeopathy? Should we be using family information in this manner? I just wanted to digress for 1 second and just talk about this. Many people are not aware of the fact that actually Samuel Hahnemann did, in his famous essay that he wrote in 1796 called Search for a New Principle, he actually talks about this. This is a very important essay because it's the essay where he first enunciates the idea of similia similibus. This is, he's already 41 years of age. Remember, Hahnemann's born in 1755, so he's 41 years of age here. He writes this very important essay. He talks about all kinds of interesting things like the doctrine of signatures, the idea of similia similibus, and he also asks the question, and here it is. He says, perhaps, however, botanical affinity may allow us to infer a similarity of action. And then he says, this is far from being the case, as there are many examples of opposite, or at least very different powers in one and the same family of plants, and that in most of them. And then he says, she'll take as a basis the most perfect natural system, that of Murray. And he goes on to give you 3 pages of examples of plants that are in the same botanical grouping, but which have oftentimes very different medicinal properties, and sometimes even opposite medicinal properties. Okay? But then he goes on to say, however, I'm far from denying the many important hints the natural system may afford to the philosophical student of the Materia Medica and to him who feels it is his duty to discover new medicinal agents, but these hints can only help to confirm and serve as a commentary to facts already known. Or in the case of untried plants, they may give rise to hypothetical conjectures, which are, however, far from approaching even to probability. So what's he saying here is that these hints may be interesting, and they may help to confirm things that are facts already known. Well, what are facts already known? Something that was generated from the proving or discovered in clinical practice. He says if it's an untried plant, an unproven plant that's never been used in practice, then it's simply hypothetical, and we don't know for sure if this substance necessarily has a relationship to another member of its grouping. Okay, he does actually go on in this essay to say that there are examples, and he gives 2 examples of 2 Loganaceae, Ignatia and Nux vomica, that are in the same botanical grouping. They're both in the Loganacea, which he says do share medicinal actions. So what Hahnemann is saying is that sometimes the members of a particular botanical or other type of grouping do share similarity of action, and sometimes they do not. And this is important to understand. It means that we can use this information, but we have to be careful not to rely on it exclusively. Sometimes it will be of value and help us to find a good remedy, and sometimes it may lead us astray. Let me give you an example. Look at the nightshades, the Solanacea. If you look at Stramonium and Belladonna and Hyoscyamus, those Solanaceas do indeed look very similar. They all have fear of the dark. They all have fear of dogs. They all have fear of water. They all have convulsions. They all have rages. They all bite. They all have heightened sexual behavior. They do look very similar in many respects. But when you compare those 3 nightshades to capsicum or tabacum or dulcamara or solanum tuberosum or lycopersicum, that type of relationship is not at all as obvious. And this is just apparent if you look at the plants. Belladonna, Stramonium, and Hyoscyamus share very similar alkaloids. If you eat them, you get a type of psychotropic effect where you got to go crazy for a period of time. But that doesn't happen when we eat tomatoes or potatoes or eggplants or peppers. It's a different type of medicinal effect. So that means we can sometimes use this information. Sometimes members of the same family will be similar in action because they share similar chemical constituents, similar alkaloids, have responded to their environment in a particular way that has produced certain chemicals and structures that allow them to deal with that environment. But other members of that family may have completely different medicinal effects, and we have to be cognizant of that as well. That means that this information can be used if used intelligently and judiciously. Oftentimes, people who consider themselves to be Hahnemannian practitioners will simply reject this information. Hahnemann did not do that. Hahnemann said I'm not going to deny that there can be concordances between members of the same family, and at the same time, sometimes these members do not share similar medicinal actions. And I think if you think about it that way, you can use this information in a very intelligent, very judicious, and very advantageous way. Okay, you can go ahead and explore all this family information in further detail. There's quite a large number of slides here. It's very interesting, and I think you'll find it to be of interesting value in a variety of different ways, for certain cases especially. I'm going to go ahead and click on the little red button here to clear out that limitation. And the next thing I'd like to just show you is how, and again, I just want to remind people what I'm going to show you now about modifying the program is only available in the Pro version. So if you've got the Classic versions, you're simply not able to modify or edit. If you do want to modify or edit your program in any way, then you'll need to contact our offices and ask them to assist you in upgrading your program. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. If you click on File, the File pull-down menu, and you go to Backgrounds, you will see that you can change you have all these different background sets that you can choose here. Here you can see I just changed it to what's called Yellow Submarine, and you can see the color change, or I can change it to Woody, or I can change it to Golf Green, or Paris 30s, or I can just change it to look any way that I want. I've got all these choices down here. I'm going to go ahead and click on Cancel so that I go back to my old one. And also, just so you know, when you click on the file backgrounds over here, you can choose the body or the header to be changed, and you can choose any window that you want to be modified specifically as well. So you can really tailor the program to look any way you want, the background of any part of the program in any way that you would like. Okay? All right, I'll go ahead and cancel out of that. The other thing you can do is if you go over to File, and you go down to Preferences and you click on Preferences, I want you to notice here that there's a little item here that says Grade Color. Okay, and if you left click on Grade Color, you can see that you can choose how you want your remedies in your repertory window to look. I've chosen this color for bold italic. That's the degree 4. I've chosen this kind of dark teal color for bold. I've chosen this bright blue color for italics, this light blue for the plain. I left the authors and conditional the same, and you can see right here how it looks. And you can click on any of these and you can choose from anywhere in this color palette and make it look any way you want. This is what I've chosen, but you can decide to choose whatever you would like. And if you look at my repertorization window, you'll see that those colors here are reflected. Here is the degree 4s, here is the degree 3s, here's the italics, and here are the degree 1s. Okay, so you can choose that to look any way you want. You can also, by the way, in your analysis graph, you can open up your repertorization graph here. You can click on Graph, and then here you see it says Design Remedy Graphs. So if you left click on Design Remedy Graphs, you'll see that you can actually change these colors that are in here. You can also modify this in a variety of different ways. I don't want to spend too much time showing you this stuff, but you can go in here and play around with this and changes. You can make this color a different color. You click on it, and I can choose any color from the color palette over here. You can show the kingdom colors or not show them. There's all kinds of different options to make the program look any way that you want. You can go in here and play around. If you want to modify these colors, you're not happy with them, you can change them to suit your own aesthetic preferences. Okay, the final thing that I'd like to focus on right now is, again, this is something that's only available in the professional versions, is how to actually make your own analysis graphs, your own repertorization graphs. So what you can do here is if you click on this little division symbol down here, you click on it, you'll see you have a number of strategies that are available to you. Expert analysis, automatic mix, number of rubrics, prominent remedies, small rubrics, and totality. These are all different strategies, and I'll show you what they are in just a second. The ones that are very obvious are number of rubrics. That's the repertorization strategy that shows you which remedies cover the most number of rubrics. Oftentimes, that's probably the one that you might want to use. It's the one where you see the remedies that cover the most number of symptoms for your patient. Prominent remedies is the one where you have a remedy that's very prominent in a rubric. So for example, let's say you had selected the rubric Mind Hatred unmoved by apologies. There's only one remedy in that rubric, nitric acid. And actually the remedy is in bold type. So you've got this remedy, it's very prominent. It's in bold type, it's the only remedy in that rubric. And therefore it's very prominent. And if you had selected that rubric, nitric acid would be moved up further up the list by the virtue of the fact that it's so prominent in that one rubric. And if it was prominent in a number of rubrics, it would move even further up the list. Again, another example, if you chose the rubric delusion, he is the object of God's vengeance. Only one remedy in that rubric, Kali Brahmanam, again in bold type, and again that would be moved up the list. The repertorization strategy called small remedies is exactly what it says. It gives emphasis to the remedies that are not well represented in the repertory. So let's just show you that. If I click on small remedies, you see you have these very obscure remedies that hardly anybody's ever heard of being pushed way up the list. If you select small rubrics, you're giving emphasis to the rubrics which are smaller. So when you have remedies in smaller rubrics, those are being more emphasized. And that's essentially the idea of a strange, rare, and peculiar symptom, giving more emphasis to the strange, rare, and peculiar symptoms versus the more general symptoms. Remember, Hahnemann in aphorism 153 of the Organon says the more striking, strange characteristics, signs, and symptoms of the disease are the ones to which we pay special and close attention. More general symptoms such as weakness, headache, or malaise deserve little or no attention unless qualified by modality. So general symptoms, weakness, headache, malaise, don't really warrant much attention because they're so general. Now, how do I make my own strategies? Well, if I click on this little division tool, you can see here the top choice says Design Strategies. So if I left click on that, you'll see here are the different strategies, and I can actually take these strategies and I can modify them. I can edit them. It's probably not a good idea to edit them because they've been prepared in a specific way, so you don't want to remove them or edit them, but you can make a new one. So let's say I click on Expert Analysis, I take Expert Analysis, and I want to modify Expert Analysis and create something new. So I click on Expert Analysis, and then I select the New button, and now I can see what actually was in the Expert Analysis. The Expert Analysis gave a 9 to grades, gave a 3 to small remedies, gave a 0 to small rubrics, gave a 2 to prominence, 7 to number of rubrics, didn't take into consideration hierarchy, mental, emotional, and physical, corresponds, salts, families. So you see, it actually, this is the way that strategy worked. Well, let's say I decide, you know what, I want to give more emphasis to small remedies. I can click and I can move small remedies up to a 7. And I can take small rubrics and I can move it up to a 5. And I can take prominence and move it down to a 0. And I can take salts. I can say I really want salts to be emphasized, and I can move that up to a 7. Okay, and then I can click on the Save button. Okay, and then I have to give it a new name. So I give it a new name here. Kim Aliyah strategy. And I might have some reason for creating the strategy. And then I click on Save. And now you see in my list, I've got a new strategy based on how I reorganized the expert analysis strategy. Okay, if I want to remove it at any point, I just highlight it, I click on the Remove button, and it's eliminated. Okay, again, this is a feature which is available in the professional versions of MacRepertory and ReferenceWorks. So if you don't have those, you'll want to upgrade to those. I hope that this has been helpful to you and useful in your understanding of some of the more advanced features of MacRepertory and ReferenceWorks. The program has got a myriad of different functions and capabilities, and it's really exciting to be able to explore how to use them to increase your success in practice and your ability to study and understand homeopathy.